Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In this video, I wanted to give you some ideas for how to fight against the Smith-Morra Gambit from the black side. It's all the rage these days. Daniel Naroditsky, if you're not following him already, you got to go check him out, is playing game after game after game for and against the Smith-Morra with the black pieces and the white pieces. So it's very important, I think, in today's online setting where we're playing our games, to be prepared with the black pieces for how to handle the Smith-Morra, because you're going to start facing it a lot with the black pieces now because everybody's starting to play it. So the Smith-Morra Gambit, of course, is against the Sicilian, and after d4, white offers up the c3 pawn, which of course we must take. And now we enter into our Smith-Morra position. And an idea that I'm going to throw out at you guys here, the traditional move that the engine gives is knight c6. And already on the fourth move for black, I'm going to offer a variation based on my own games, where I've noticed that in the past, when I've gone with a6 instead of knight c6, immediately taking white out of their prep, my winning percentage with this has gone up by like 40 or 50%. So absolutely a dramatic difference here. Now, many times what you're going to have is white's going to continue with either knight f3 or potentially bishop to c4 here as we're playing. So I'm just going to play the move knight f3 here to show you guys what's going on. We're going to follow up with d6. And then if white, now many times in the Smith-Morra, white is looking to play bishop to c4. He wants to immediately get pressure on her f7 pawn and start setting up knight jumps. And also in the Smith-Morra, once the bishop comes out to c4, you know that building up pressure and eventually sacking for the e6 pawn is absolutely on the table. Now, what's really great again about our setup so far, going a6 and then d6, is bishop to c4 is no longer at this point the best move for white, or even the second best move or the third best move for white. So if he just goes ahead and plays bishop to c4 here, it's not going to change anything that we do. We're still going to play e6. So I'm going to take a second to show you guys after that main trade-off with the Smith-Morra, where we're up a pawn because of the gambit. We're going to be playing a6 followed by d6 followed by e6. So this is easy, A, D, E, all in a row, very easy to remember. And even up in the 17 and 1800 range where I play my games, this is absolutely acceptable here. So usually in a situation like this, white is going to just look to castle. And what really works here for us, what I do like about this a6 push, is this a6 push is going to give us the ability to immediately go, if we want, we can immediately go with b5. If we don't want to immediately go with b5, then we run the risk, so to speak, not that we're giving away our position. If we don't play b5 right away, then white can always just play a3 and then have a nice little home for the bishop here. So our position is very solid. And now it's equal for white whether they put the bishop back on e2 or they put the bishop over here on b3. And so let's take a look at what happens if white brings the bishop back to b3, because I feel so many Smith-Morra players want to keep their bishop on this diagonal, and bishop to b3 is the move that we're likely going to see here. So now, as awkward as the move looks, knight to c6 is the move here. Looking awkward because the knight isn't protected by any pieces there, but this is just sort of a transitional move for the knight. The knight obviously looking to make a jump here to put pressure on the bishop. Now, white's best two moves here in this position are going to be queen to e2, where he's looking to reinforce the push of the pawn along this diagonal. Once that queen is out of the way, as you know, white likes to try to slide the rook over and get an x-ray attack on our queen. And so I wouldn't be surprised if your opponent plays queen to e2 in this situation, or plays e3 now, afraid that the knight is going to come and attack it. Now, let's go ahead and jump into a3. So a3, we can just still play bishop e7. We can play knight to f6. We can even just play bishop to b7. This a3 move preserves the bishop, but does nothing to advance White's attack against us. Remember, this is a gambit. White's down a pawn right now, so he doesn't really have time to play this a3 move. If we see this, we just continue our development as we normally would. And then going back, what we'll do is we'll also take a look at a move that you don't see too often from your opponents. Bishop f4 is also an idea here, trying to build up this double pressure. And here what we'll do is we'll go ahead and just play bishop to b7. And black is doing very well here. And now we'll get into, we'll go ahead and just play this queen e2 move, since this is a move that black is looking to play quite a bit. And in a position like this, what's very interesting is you don't simply continue with knight f6, because there's simply going to be too much pressure here for pieces with control of this e5 square. At this point, the knight cannot be coming out to f6. What we want to do, while this pawn, this d6 pawn, which is very often a target for black, is only under attack by one white piece. It's currently defended by two black pieces. We're going to go ahead and play knight g to e7. We're absolutely anticipating that one of the rooks is going to slide over to the d file here. Usually it's the a rook, so we'll go ahead and make that move. And now what's wonderful is knight to g6 puts pressure on the dark squared bishop and also reveals our second defender on the d6 pawn here. So some solid playing for black, and black is still maintaining a slight advantage here. White obviously does have to play bishop to g3 in this position, and now our plans will include bishop to e7. They can include moves like knight to a4, knight to a5, and then we'll go ahead and get castled and we'll play from there. Now, I don't want to get too deep into this video. What I really wanted to give you guys is your first 8 to 10 moves against the Smith-Morra. We've done 11 moves for black here, and bishop e7 is going to be our next move. So we've got our first 12 moves sort of scripted out, and at the very least, we're not going to be in a worse position or dropping these games against white in the Smith-Morra in the first 10 to 12 moves. That's really what we're hoping to start with here, to get into some positions where we're not worse, we're still maintaining slight advantages and working throughout. So I'll go through the sequence one more time for you guys. I'll go through it from the beginning. So e5, e4, c5, Sicilian, and this is the Smith-Morra Gambit where he offers up that c3 pawn, and we're looking at, not the normal continuation, this a6 line that I'm suggesting. Remember, it's going to go a6, d6, e6, right down the line. Very easy to remember here. Remember that you've got this b5 pawn push driving back. Remember that you can develop the knight to c6. It's okay that it's floating and it's temporarily undefended. We've got this jump against the bishop here if we want, though we're not necessarily looking to move a piece twice in the opening. And then if he vents like that, we can just play our normal stuff, still get the bishop out, bishop f4, things like this, knight over here, queen to e2, knight coming over, dropping back, bishop e7. All very normal stuff. Rook's coming over to defend. We've got queen c7 here. We could potentially even just castle in this position and be totally fine. And black is doing absolutely great here. One other move that I want to point out that can be useful, the queen on c7 is slightly vulnerable to some sack ideas where the knight jumps in and threatens her. So in some Smith-Morra positions, especially where you haven't necessarily played b5 yet, and maybe haven't even played a6, although if you're following my video you should, then a move like queen to b8. Maintaining here, now you're still under the scope of the bishop, but you're no longer under the scope of the rook here, which makes this e5 pawn push that much better for us because now we can take that pawn because our queen is no longer on d8 being attacked by the rook. So a couple nuances there. I'll try to get some good games in this going for you guys. I lost to Smith Morra earlier today against an 1830. I was currently ranked 17, almost 1740. So once I start getting some good games and start getting the positions that I want out of this opening, I'll have some more middle game videos for you guys that we can kind of build on what we started with here. But just wanted to introduce you to the first 10 move sequence that you can use to start getting better win percentages against the Smith Morra Gambit right off the bat right now. So if you found this video useful, go ahead and like and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one.